Okay, everyone. We are back. My name is Brian Eater with the Modern Eater. Brian Freeman. Did I say Brian Eater?
I like
Brian
that.
Freeman, Modern Eater. We're here. We're doing it. We're excited. We're under the Western Colorado Community College food demo tent here at Colorado Mountain Wine Fest. We are we're here with Jenny and Stephanie.
Yep.
They are both with Western Colorado Community College, and they are going to be doing something that's going to be tasty. I can see already. It's a Pinot Gris and a chilled yellow squash soup with red pepper crema. Come on now, tell us about this, ladies.
So the soup I cannot talk about. We'll have to bring Beth up here for that. So welcome. My name's Jenny, and I am a commercial winemaker. I used to make wine for Plum Creek Cellars. I then started, this is a brand new program for Western Colorado Community College. It's viticulture and enology. Does anybody know what enology means? See? Okay, so viticulture is the science of grape growing, and enology is just a fancy term for the science of winemaking. Okay, so I get to teach winemaking. I have 3 winemaking classes. It's really a lot of fun. We're a very hands-on program. It's only in its 3rd year.
We started with 3 and we're up to 12 students?
Yes. We have 12 students. We've had 6 students that have graduated. They're doing all kinds of sensory analysis, making wine, picking grapes, establishing vineyards.
Working at local vineyards, working out of state.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Working out of state. And several of my students actually are working at the different booths that they work for, so it was kind of hard to wrangle them to stand at a booth and ask for donations for pretzel necklaces, right?
How long does the program take?
It's a 2-year associate's program, and then we do have 1-year certificates in just winemaking or grape growing.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Or we can also, if you're a golden scholar, you can come in and take a class if you would like for a semester. So if that might be sensory analysis, the chemistry, I'm going to say that's a tricky one even for my brand new students. But there's all kinds of different things you can go ahead and come in and take locally also.
And
Yeah.
what kinds of things does that teach people? Because it sounds like a lot more than just learning how to take care of vines and make wine.
Right. So if you're more interested in making wine, we're getting you ready to be a winemaker, an owner. Certainly you could start your own grape growing business. Maybe you want to go on to sommelier certification. And so a lot of these classes give you the background that would help you with that certification program.
That sounds really, really neat. How many people have been through your class so far?
Well, I have 6 graduates.
6 graduates,
Yep,
okay.
and I have 12 right now that are taking classes. So
Sounds
it's
really
fun.
exciting, and anyone can do it.
Anyone
All age
can do
groups.
it. You don't
Nice.
even have to come for the associates. You could just come if a class sounds really interesting. You could just come take a class. And that's what we get with some of the locals that are just wanting to brush up some of their skills. They're coming and taking a lab class or such. So
Nice. And so we are pairing this with Pinot Gris today?
Yes.
Is that?
So I want to introduce, the wine is a rosé of Pinot Gris. This is from a new winery we have here in Colorado. It's called the Storm Cellar, and they're actually down in Paonia. They're between Hotchkiss and Paonia. The grapes are grown up on what's called Sunshine Mesa. And actually this vineyard, Redstone Vineyard, was owned by Plum Creek, and that's where I spent my 23 years making wine. But they purchased it, and last year was their first harvest. So they're growing stuff at about 6,500 feet. They're growing Pinot Gris, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, and Chardonnay. So we're going to be doing the rosé of Pinot Gris. You'll notice it has a color hue to it. And what they do is they do a little bit of skin contact with that. A Pinot Gris cluster, the berry itself actually has kind of a rust color to it. And so by doing some skin contact to try and pull out more flavor from the skins, they also pull out a little bit of color. So they just won for their first time entering the Governor's Cup. They got 2 of their wines in the Governor's Cup collection, and that's only 14 wines total from the state, and they got 2 of them in there. So really happy about that.
Wow, and we're going to get to taste that right now.
Yes, we
with
are.
a little bit of soup. I like to hear this.
Go ahead and pour it. Yeah.
I like to hear it. Folks, so if you have your glasses, people will be walking around, giving you a little sample of the Pinot Gris and this is from Storm Cellar.
The Storm Cellar. This
Yeah, no.
is Jamie and
I just didn't know
Steve
if you wanted
Steesey. And I think you're doing a radio show with them at
Yes,
Ben.
they'll be tonight
Yes.
at Ben 707 live on our radio show.
Yeah, so you'll
Which will
get
be
to
really-
meet them.
yeah.
Hopefully you should try the wine so that you can tell them how good it is.
I will. This is really exciting, folks. One of the things that I think is important is little wine education. And so, as you just said, with this wine, they left the skin on a little bit.
They did leave the skin on a little bit. Let's first have, Beth, are you ready?
Elizabeth, are you ready to tell us about your soup?
I sure am. So this is a chilled butternut squash soup with spices. It's roasted butternut soup or butternut squash that we've blended with water and olive oil and spices, and then we've added a roasted red pepper crema. And so basically we've taken creme fraiche, which is essentially, I would say, like, if you couldn't find creme fraiche at the grocery store, you could sub sour cream or like plain Greek yogurt or something like that. And so we roasted some red peppers and then blended that with just some really creamy dairy. And so it's just got a really nice thick finish. And we serve it cold because we think it's really good, and it's just a little more interesting sometimes like that.
And it's a cold soup, correct? Is that
Right.
what we're getting to try? That
Yeah.
sounds so refreshing on
Yeah.
a warm day like today.
Oh my gosh, seriously, it absolutely is. Again, it's an opportunity to use some really incredible produce from here in the Grand Valley and turn it into something really delicious.
So butternut squash, it's very creamy. We're adding some of that crema in there and adding creaminess. So if we're trying to balance a wine with that, we want something that's kind of going to act as a palate cleanser. And so we want something that has pretty good acidity levels to it. And I think that's what we have with this rosé of Pinot Gris. Did everybody try the wine? Do they like it? It's good, isn't it?
And now, does everyone like the butternut soup too? Yes.
And how about the pairing?
Do they go together?
Nice.
I remember my first kind of aha moment with food pairing was at a winemaker's luncheon, and they served 3 different wines per course. And it was a sweet corn bisque, and it had crema, it had a little spicy part, and cilantro, and it was served with a champagne. And it was just like, oh my God, these 2 together are just fabulous. I could just eat this for the rest of my life.
And so I love the fact that I'm looking out in the crowd and we have a bunch of happy faces that are drinking wine before noon. Your first pairing of the day, everyone. And I love that we're getting a thumbs up all the way around. You know, I really, really want to thank everyone, you know, in particular Elizabeth for the soup, and also Jenny and Stephanie for coming up here and really explaining a little bit about the wine and how it pairs with food and what notes and what are things that you should. Why don't we just end on that note? But let me ask, what are some pairings that you recommend or some easy tips for people when they're trying to pair food and wine?
Okay, so let's go over some simple guideline rules. I do want to mention first that we have 2 more of these food and wine pairings throughout the day. So come back so that you can learn a little bit more. But, you know, when we're talking about acidic food or even something sweet, we always want the wine to be either more acidic than the food or sweeter than the food. So sometimes it's hard to pair a dessert with a wine, because if it's not as sweet as the food, it's actually going to taste almost flat, and it's not going to be a good pairing. When we're talking about acid pairs with acid. You know, all those Italian, when you think of Italian cuisine, it's very tomato-based. That's high in acid. And most of the Italian varieties are high in acid. Spicy food. Spicy food is very hard to pair. You want a little bit of residual sugar in the wine so that it kind of puts a blanket. It doesn't enhance the fire in your mouth. That will happen. Not a good sign. So have a little, a rosé or a Riesling with your spicy Mexican food. One last one. When we're talking about really rich food, we want something to act as a palate cleanser, whether that's something that has high acidity or it has some tannins in the wine, and that'll help break that up. So,
We have a question.
Say that again.
She's asking, what do you pair with steak?
with steak, that depends on what type of cut it is and how much fat is in there. If you have maybe a ribeye that has more fat marbled in there, then you're going to want a bigger red, has more tannins, because tannins and fat will cancel each other out and it'll be very smooth. But if you're having, say, elk steaks that don't have hardly any fat in there, then you're going to want something on the lighter side that doesn't have the big tannins to it. Good question.
And I've got one for you, Jenny. Isn't it a myth? Everyone says, oh, you should always do white wine with fish and red wine with red meats. Isn't that a myth?
I love Pinot Noir with salmon. It's really a myth. You know, you got to broaden your horizons. There's a lot of, there's not set rules. And really, the first rule should be, what wine do you like to drink? You're eating the food. Whatever you think is best is going to be the best pairing.
The question was balsamic vinegar, when used on fish, how does that affect a wine pairing with that?
So vinegar is a very hard thing to pair with wine, because what is wine? It's kind of in between juice and vinegar. You know, we're trying to get it right there. And so, yes, you know, we try and minimize vinegar on salad dressings when we're doing wine pairing dinners. Balsamic isn't as strong, but really, you know, is there something else? Maybe you could use like lemon, because it is very hard to pair that with wine.
And I've got another question for her. So I've seen a little bit of a trend of people starting to chill red wines. What's your take on that? Have you seen that? I've seen some people serving old vine Zen to chilled in the summertime, as because it's a little more refreshing.
Right.
What do you think about that trend?
Well, you know, I have a good friend that continually puts ice cubes in no matter what wine she's drinking. And I have since, I do not get offended by that. Whatever you like to do to enjoy that wine. But in chilling it, you know, that certainly opens the door to more reds in the summertime, because in the summertime it's hot out. It's not very refreshing to have a room temperature Cabernet Sauvignon. So if by chilling it slightly, it makes it more enjoyable for you, then I say go for it.
I love to hear that. I love to hear that. It's make no excuses and just enjoy yourself when you're drinking wine.
It's wine. Come on, enjoy yourself, right? That's why we're all here at Wine Festival. So come back, please. We have 2 more food and wine pairings. And bring more questions,
Bring more questions, please. So our next demo will start very shortly. We're doing a ratatouille.
What time?
I'm sorry, what was that question again? The next one will start here in just about 5 minutes.
Right, I'm gonna demonstrate ratatouille and a creamy polenta, and I would say that should take about an hour, and then right after that we'll do Jenny's next wine pairing. Is that right?
The wine pairing, yes, exactly.
Okay.
So our next wine pairing is going to be in about 1 hour, and we're going to have a Cabernet Sauvignon with a salt roasted fingerling potato and a blue cheese fondue. So please come back and join us for the next pairing.